Said so. Let's see. Ooh. Meeting is now streaming live. There we go. Is your jersey ready?
No,
Still
I
wet?
know I had to stay for another 28 minutes.
Ah. Kev is looking awfully cool there, Kev.
Thanks, man.
Calm, cool, collected.
I'm at home, buddy, you know?
Yeah.
Chilling.
Here we are. We're live.
Sully, where's your brother at?
He's riding his bike.
Yeah.
Do we have enough room for Jimmy the space one?
Yeah, there'll be room for Jimmy. Don't worry. We'll get him in there. Don't you worry. All right. So it's live there. That's good.
Who's up?
Tommy, you wearing a hoodie underneath that?
Lightweight t-shirt hoodie, yes.
Okay.
Nice.
I mean, might be my new look. Okay. Make sure this is working. Okay. Here we go. We are live. Tom Glitter, Kevin McCloskey, Lindsey Patterson. If we can't be at Nippert Stadium today, this is about the next best thing. Oh, look who else is here. So you say hello to everybody on Facebook. We might bring him into the broadcast booth when we get back to it here in a couple of months. But it's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
After the game. All right. Well, it's good to see everybody, and I hope you're all hanging in all right. Doing okay?
Relaxing.
In some sweatpants right now.
Yes, that's a good thing. I haven't. I don't think I've worn pants with anything but a drawstring now for 9 or 10 straight days. So that's the latest update. I did shower for this affair, so it's good to be here. And we went for a walk this morning, and it reminded me of April 9th, 2016. It's about 35 degrees out. There's a chill in the air, and that's kind of how things were for that inaugural home game. That hard to believe it was almost 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. Crazy. I think, the weather's certainly, I think, similar to what it was that day. But fast forward to today, it's a lot of different chapters, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Kev, let's look at it. It was a 7 o'clock game. We're going to see here when we come on the air in 9 minutes for everybody on Star 64. So the game will be on Star 64. This is your second screen experience. Of course, we have to practice social distancing. So you go with the sunglasses there, Kev.
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
I'm trying to get it right, man. Sully, what do you think? Sunglasses on or off?
I mean, I would keep them at least for a little
On.
bit, right? Like until the sun sets on a broadcast or something. Let them ride for a little bit there. But we look at it and we were getting ready. That was your first broadcast. Lindsey had done broadcasting. I had done broadcasting. We'll let the fans kind of judge for themselves when they see here in 8 minutes as you try to figure out where the camera is. But how nervous were you that day?
There was sweat literally dripping down my back. Like you said, it was like 30 degrees outside. The biggest thing was, you'll see it as this game continues. There's a point in time where you kind of settle down and kind of understand. But I think not knowing what to expect was the most difficult thing, most nerve-wracking thing. I've done some radio stuff before, but never on TV. So fast forward to today, hopefully there's been growth. It certainly feels like it. But looking back on this game, I'm obviously really excited to watch it too. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. There's definitely going to be some things that you say that you're like, why did I say that? But that's all fun.
I mean, I think all three of us could say that,
Yeah.
So I think, Linz, you had obviously done a lot of sideline American football. You've done some basketball. You've done everything you get your hands on at that point. What were your emotions kind of leading up to this and getting ready for that first SC Cincinnati game? Because none of us really knew what to expect that night or what was really going to happen.
No, it's a little crazy, a little backstory. And I know we've actually talked about it before. When we talked about getting this broadcast team together, Tommy and I met in a coffee shop in Oakwood, and we talked about it. And I had no clue what to expect. I was just excited for another opportunity. The growth of soccer has only grown. And going and taking the field at Nippert Stadium, I actually thought it would be cool if maybe 100 people showed up. I had no clue they would hit 13,000. And that's a little number today, but it was incredible with how the weather conditions were and everybody wanted to give it a shot. I had all the goosebumps, but it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, were you cold that day, Linz?
Just a tad bit. I didn't dress for the weather, which nothing is
Wait. Does that ever happen in an opener, Kev?
No.
Can we think of any other season openers or home openers where our dear friend Lindsay has not dressed for the weather?
I think that's happened a couple of occasions.
I mean, it was equally, was it colder for you and were you less prepared dress-wise for the Seattle game last year or the April 9th, 2016 game at Nippert Stadium? Because they were both cold, and I feel like both times you didn't quite have enough on.
I'm going to be more than certain I did not wear a winter coat to this game that we're going to show. And it was freezing for April. But Seattle, I had a coat on.
That's your point. Fair. All right. Well, we're going to find out here in about, we're 5 minutes away. We appreciate everybody joining us here on Facebook. We're going to be with you for 2 hours momentarily. Jimmy McLaughlin, who started that inaugural home USL game, he'll be joining us live here on the chat. Sally's already trying to take over. And Sally, you have anything? How old were you at that game, Sally? You didn't go to that one, did you? You had a babysitter that night. I think you were 1 year old. So you didn't get to go to that game, did you?
Yeah.
No. Do you like going to games now?
Now I'm 5 years old.
5 years old now. That's how old we are and how far things have come since 2016. So make sure you send in your questions. If you're joining us on Facebook, we'll be checking in here occasionally. Cindy has sent her message and says that, Sully, you are cracking her up. You are making Cindy laugh, and she loves it. So is that a good thing?
And Dad,
Yeah.
your watch is one off. It's wrong.
My watch is wrong. All right. Well, thank you. But Cindy is enjoying seeing you on the Facebook stream. But make sure that you are sending us questions, and we'll get them here on the cell phone. We'll present them. But Jimmy McLaughlin will be joining us, I think, for most of this 2 hours. We'll have Austin Berry for the second half. He has a big moment coming up in the second half. May have some special guests along the way. We'll see who else wants to make an appearance and be part of this. But it's good to get the broadcast team together to have an opportunity to yes, Sally?
I have YouTube stocks on. Only one of them.
One YouTube sock. So that's good. Oh, there's lowercase G stopping in the.
What's up?
We got nearly the whole family is here now to join the broadcast team. Jimmy will be here. Jimmy's coming. Let's just chill in the pocket square. Why don't you go get your jersey on and get ready for the game? Because we got 4 minutes until the game starts.
How to do it?
It's in the dryer.
I had to do it for 1 more minute. No, for 28 more minutes. Because,
So let's see. No chaos here.
It wasn't
We should start inviting these two into the booth. You know, sometimes they come to pay a visit after the game, but Kev, we should start inviting them a little bit earlier, right? Like
Definitely think.
let them do the halftime show or something along those lines, right?
Just to give you a heads up in the morning too. My dog might join in this, so
Oh, please.
Might. I mean, I hope so. We're a dog-friendly broadcast. I think last year we had a penguin in the broadcast booth, and we think we've seen since that first broadcast and what we've now done 120 or so, let's say 125, somewhere in that range since 2016. And I would say that it's we've seen a little bit of everything, right? We've seen penguins in the broadcast booth. We've seen plenty of characters along the way, halftime guests.
a lot of good halftime interviews as well, Tommy.
Yes, halftime interviews.
The
All the
first-
way back to starting with Alec Papadakis with broadcast number one, the president of the USL, and until through our last one of Jurgen Locati. And I can't wait for the next one. You know, everybody's working on halftime features right now to get ready for the resumption of play, whenever that is. If you missed the news from Major League Soccer released this week, obviously they're going to follow the guidelines of the CDC. And we will not see a resumption of Major League Soccer until at least May 10th. So we're sidelined for a little bit longer. We hope everybody's staying healthy and doing really, really well. And we look forward to being able to watch this inaugural match here momentarily. So we are inching closer. We have our jerseys on now. Hey, whoa. We're not going to fight. We have the inaugural season jersey. And there he is. Look at that. We got the number 20 jersey. The kid is out.
Oh, what's up, Black?
There he is.
And we got Sully with his Harris Madunian in and Jimmy McLaughlin, who started that game on April 9th. We're ready to go. All right, you go. We're going to talk to Jimmy. Jimmy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on. Sawyer, I'm loving the jersey. You're looking good. Sully, I love the Harris jersey as well.
Someone went upstairs.
Yep, living it good. I think he's going to get more apparel on in the process. But how you?
Oh, I'm getting yours.
Yeah, maybe. How you been staying busy, Jimmy? I know this has been a tough period for you and all the guys on the team.
Yeah, it's been a weird week. So obviously we weren't really sure how, and still aren't sure how this is all going to play out. So Austin and Gary Walker sent us out some individual workouts to do at our house or at a local field or just outside. So I've been running every day, doing a little bit of ball work, doing some upper and lower body workouts at home. But yeah, just trying to stay busy and working on getting a plan together going forward.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure it's very tough trying to find a piece of grass to get out on and work on or do whatever you can. Now we're about to see, we're like 1 minute away from this inaugural broadcast coming on air here on Star 64. So this is your second screen experience. I'm Tom Glader, Kevin McCloskey, of course, sideline reporter Liz Patterson. We were the broadcast crew on that day. And Jimmy McLaughlin, who started one of the 11 to start the first ever home game at Nippert Stadium. And I asked Kevin how nervous he was, that being his first broadcast. What were your feelings at this point as you were sitting in the dressing room getting ready to come out on the pitch?
It was crazy. I mean, I remember all of us kind of talking the night before the game, and none of us knew how many people were going to show up. So we were excited. We were nervous. I mean, there were a bunch of mixed emotions. And then when we walked out and there were 14,000 people, I mean, I think everyone just kind of got in the zone and enjoyed the moment. And what a spectacular game for the first ever one at Nippert.
Yeah, for sure. You weren't on when we were talking about it a little bit. I went for a walk with the family here about an hour ago, and it feels today kind of like it felt that day, right? A little bit of a chill in the air, and I mean, it was a frigid night at Nippert. Do you remember being especially cold for that one?
I remember my parents and grandparents in the crowd were especially cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch of cold nights at Nippert over the years, and that's just kind of one of the feelings I get when I think back about some of these big games, just kind of the crisp air and the atmosphere that you always get there. But once you get moving in the game, I mean, it makes for perfect conditions as a field player. So
yeah, you can see Evan's on the screen, and we can't show the game here on the Facebook
So are
live
you,
stream.
Dad.
Yes, I
That
am
ain't
too.
different than what John Harbaugh.
But
I'm trying to find the camera as we speak.
yeah, Kev, do you have any idea what a camera is at this point?
IFB.
No, he didn't have an IFB. Remember the first 3 years he
Oh.
didn't wear an earpiece. So last year was the first time. I didn't want him to be distracted. So our producer and director David Ashbrook asked, should we put an earpiece in Kevin? And I said, well, I don't think so at this point because he's not going to be used to you talking in his ear. So and maybe we needed it so that he could have told you that, hey, Kev, don't look off at the wall. Look.
The camera's coming at you.
had you guys done a dry run before this? I know we had the one scrimmage, huh? But did you guys like?
We did. We watched practice together, obviously a lot, and we'd been at that Xavier scrimmage, and all of that. But we hadn't done a dry run. So, I mean, literally, this is the dry run. This is the real run. This is the fired up and go. Yeah, there's Weeda on the screen. I was texting with him this morning. I know you are in regular communication with Andrew Wiedemann, teammate in the starting 11 that day, and now your agent, right, Jimmy?
That's right. I was actually talking to him yesterday. I always have a shirt of him with his shirt off just to have, it was good to keep in my room just to have a friendly reminder of him. But yeah, no, he's turned super player into super agent now, and he's doing a great job for me and a lot of other players around the league.
Yeah. Oh, wait 1 second. Who just jumped in on the live stream? Do we have a special appearance from the Wonder Goal himself? Hold on. We're getting audio connected from California, where it looks a lot warmer than it was the day of the inaugural opener. Ugo, how are you?
Hey.
What's up, everybody?
It's Sean Nicoli, who will score here in the match momentarily as we get underway. The first soccer goal at Nippert Stadium. We asked Jimmy, so while we're in commercial getting ready for the start of the match, tell us what were your emotions at this point 3 or 4 minutes before playing for FC Cincinnati?
Are you asking me or Jimbo?
I asked Jimmy already. We heard about it a moment ago,
okay.
so it's your turn now.
Sorry about that. But yeah, I feel like it was a lot of emotions in the locker room. Obviously, the first home game for the club, and we just wanted to start off well with a win. So I'm glad it happened at the end of the day.
Yeah, it certainly was a special day. What were the emotions like when you walked out and saw 14,000 people bundled up and freezing out there at Nippert Stadium?
Oh, I was buzzing. I was excited. There's nothing like playing in front of crowds. It just raises your game and just brings the best out of you. So yeah, I was buzzing.
Hey.
Well, we have the FC Cincinnati dog. We had Kevin's dogs might show up. Well, now we have our FC Cincinnati dog has shown up here in the live stream. Now we do have the opportunity to take questions on Facebook Live. We'll be with you up until 2 p.m. We believe Austin Barry will be joining us in the second half for his goal and to talk a little bit about the experience playing for the Orange and Blue. We do have a question coming in. Brad on Facebook wanted to know, did we not travel, meaning Kevin Lindsay and I, for those first road games at Charleston and Bethlehem? And the answer is no, we didn't travel until we got to Major League Soccer. We went to a couple games in the 2018 season on the road that were within drivable distance. We went to Nashville, we went to Indy for those USL games, but we didn't really travel at all in the USL. And then that first year, we didn't do any of those games, the first or second year, honestly. So, you were up to the broadcasting crew from the other side. So the first broadcast we did was the one that's airing on Star 64 right now as we look at what was a really, really special day at Nippert Stadium.
Sean, quick question for you. Obviously, I've talked to Jimmy about this, but kind of as you went through that first year, and obviously from that first home game, you kind of saw the momentum and the build. What was the experience like the entire year as you got to watch Nippert Stadium kind of grow in capacity?
I mean, I felt like not just the players, but the coaching staff, the club, and especially the fans, we set the tone for the year. And yeah, we set this high standard of how we wanted to play on the field and the type of soccer we wanted to play. So obviously when you're in season, you're so focused on each game and you want to get 3 points every single time you step out there. But looking back, it's just crazy how much momentum we did bring and build throughout the year. It was a great experience.
Do you still stay in touch with a lot of those guys, the original roster?
Oh, yeah, I do. Still talk with Corbin, obviously Jimmy. I seen Jimmy at a wedding a little bit, I don't know how long, maybe about a few months ago. But, yeah, I still keep in touch. I think that was a very special group. So, yeah, I'll try and keep in touch as long as I can. I know Rick is still out there too, Ross, obviously. So some good people. Omar, Luke, a lot of good guys.
And Sean, we have plenty of goals that stick out to us at Nippert Stadium, but do you have one that you were just like, I'll always remember that one?
I most definitely have a few with Cincinnati. Obviously the scissor kick was one not just me, but a lot of people remember. But I also remember the first goal of the season actually when we were at Bethlehem. We're on the road. Wanted to get a result because we didn't get one that first game. But that was one that was nice for me as well. But there's plenty of goals that I'll always remember.
You know what's funny, and I remember this as I was looking at my chart. I actually dug it out of my office, and I have my chart from the first game, and we're showing the starters and the subs. Of course, both Ugo and Jimmy start this match. Is that in the USL that season, you were allowed 5 subs, right? Like, isn't that bizarre to think about? Kevin and I talked about it last night, but absolutely bizarre to think that was the case then, right?
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. Good thing it got the rules right throughout the years. But yeah, it's stuff you don't really think about at the time, but crazy to think about now.
I have a question coming in for Jimmy here as we get underway. The first ever match at Nippert Stadium. Watching it on Star 64, we have the second screen experience. And before we get to this wonder goal here in about 4.5 minutes from right now, let's see. Latest question for Jimmy, and we did talk about it right when you jumped on, but Jessica and Jackson has her 10-year-old son, and he wanted to know, so let's go back to it. And Ugo, you could talk about it after Jimmy as well. How are you guys staying in shape during this quarantine?
Yeah, it's obviously difficult not being able to practice with the group or having any real gym facilities to train at. So, I mean, a lot of it is running outside by ourselves, doing some ball work on the field and doing some body weight exercises that the coaches have given to us. So, Kind of just like the good old days when you were back in high school or middle school, getting ready for the season coming up, and you're outside working by yourself. I mean, that's kind of what all of us are doing right now.
I'd imagine the same for you, Ugo. Finally back in the United States, playing out there with Orange County, right? And you got the sunshine, but now unfortunately you don't have training or games.
Yeah, I think the timing was pretty unfortunate for soccer in the States. We were just a game in, and then all of a sudden this happened. But I think it's important for us to take this time and, make sure everyone has a safe and speedy recovery from this virus and keeping everyone healthy. But yeah, it's a lot of individual workouts, it's a good time to try and keep the good habits that you would keep during the season and, obviously practice and work on those while we're not with the boys. So patiently waiting to get back, that's for sure.
Once we get to the super kick, I'm gonna have you talk about it, Ugo. But how many times have you re-seen that goal since it took place almost 4 years ago?
I think I've seen it a lot, but
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time actually. We had the game and then we went out to dinner after a couple of us, and yeah, ESPN was just showing it on screen while we're eating. It was a surreal moment, and I couldn't even believe it myself. But yeah, I think that's a goal a lot of people will remember. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, for sure. Remarkable moment. Jimmy, what do you remember about it?
I remember the night before, Ugo had like 15 donuts at Soto.
Soto. I've heard this story.
I'm glad that the super kick came the day after. But
I mean that's like Stick's orders, right?
Yeah, no, sure, at least two, all to himself. He wouldn't even share with the group.
I mean,
if you guys had those before, then you would understand.
Oh,
Those were amazing.
I have, but I don't have to go play 90 minutes or so afterwards. There's your keys to the match, Kevin. Take advantage. I'm not even sure what that means. Start fast, establish rhythm, and manage well.
He must be faster than me. Oh, here we go. Okay. Take advantage, start fast, establish rhythm. Well, the big thing about managing too, and this goes back to Tommy what we talked about last night. Especially for the coach, managing subs for 5 opportunities, it was never going to happen in the first half. That usually doesn't happen. Right. But then to have that option too, I thought that was kind of unique. My question back to Jimmy or to Sean, you must have faced some opponents that probably subbed maybe more often than others. How big of a factor was that, and how difficult was that, especially on those road games?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly having that many subs like really ruined the flow of the game. I mean, there's so many stoppages in the second half with those substitutions, and it allows teams to essentially play more defensively if they want, or push for a goal if they're down. And it really just changes the entire flow of the game. So it was really strange, honestly. And I think it also allowed coaches to make subs they obviously would never make. I mean, maybe you're up a goal at the end of the game and you bring in like another center back or something. So it really just made for a choppy second half in a lot of the games and a broken second half, I think.
Okay, well, here comes the goal right from the top of the 18. And the scissor kick from Ugo Okoli. I know, Ugo, you can't see it out of California, blocked out from watching, but the first goal just happened in that great moment. Everybody is bundled up and really, really cold, but what a spectacular moment for this club and for this city.
Yeah, great memories and great time. I remember the boys, us all celebrating together in the corner, and those are moments why you play football, So I'm very happy I was able to share that experience with you guys.
Is that I mean, as a striker, I mean that has to. I mean, not only is it an amazing goal, but has to be just a great confidence boost to get that in the first 10 minutes and get rolling like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with how the first 2 years of my career went in terms of not playing too many games. I thought starting it off like that just really set the tone for myself and for my teammates, so it was good.
I think too, Tommy, one moment or memory that I have about this game, especially the first 15 minutes, how active Sean was as a target player, because I think there's like 2 or 3 other opportunities that come into you here in the next 5-10 minutes. but you were definitely a handful throughout that first half of those two centre backs. I'm sure they were glad to see the halftime whistle. But any memories of that, Sean, playing against certain opponents, centre backs that you played against? Who are maybe the toughest players that you've ever played against in any league?
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at it, there's obviously some tough defenders out there, but I don't know. I guess the mentality I have going into each game, I'm not really thinking about anyone else, but my game and what I need to do to impact the game. So it's kind of like I don't care who's in front of me or in between goal. I'm just gonna get three to get to that goal. So that's always been my mentality. It's tough to talk about defenders throughout the years right now, to be honest.
But how much that guy Jimmy over there helping to play next to you? Just showed an opportunity for Jimmy and Wida, and I imagine having those two guys on the wings was a lot of fun for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Creative players, love going forward, love combining, but also the relationship we had on and off the field. I just think it helped our performances. So most definitely good times playing with those boys.
For sure, man.
Yeah, Jimmy, I know we go way back.
Dude, you're looking good with that beard, man. I'll tell you what, it's really a nice look for you.
So I had to grow it. It took a long time. A lot of ugly days.
After this match, you should log on to fccincinnati.com. There's a profile of Ugo. I know you caught up with Charlie Hatch this week, so you can check that out and see how Ugo's doing back in the United States and anxious to get playing again out there with Orange County. I do have a question. We can let you roll, Ugo. I'll have you answer it first, and Jimmy, you can jump in. But guy Zorn, he's the guy with the drum in the front of the Bailey, and he wants to know what you guys remember from that first night and the noise coming down from the supporters.
Well, wasn't there? But there's a lot of blue and orange smoke going around. So once you see that, you just feel like you're like, I don't know, in a hostile environment, but at the same time, like a very calming one for the home team, obviously. But yeah, like I said, those are environments you live to play in, and the way Cincinnati, the fans set the tone, it was unbelievable, and it kind of set the tone for me ever since. Like, I know fans are always going to be a big part of the team, and I think if they just support the boys even more, it only raises everyone's game and gets results. So the Bailey was an incredible experience, and I hope you guys are doing just as well, if not better. You guys deserve the best.
I'm sure they would welcome you if you ever have time to fit in your schedule. And from the sounds of things, it's going to be a very busy summer. But at some point, whether it's this year or next year or whenever in your career, you got to come back. I'm going to go way out on a limb and say the folks and the supporters in the Bailey would be happy to find a place for you to stand and cheer for the orange and blue.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I most definitely plan on coming back. It just depends on how the timing and the schedule and everything,
Of course. Jimmy, what do you remember from the noise that first night?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first time everybody realized that this was something different. This was something special. I mean, a lot of us had USL experiences before, and there was never anything like this. And I remember during warm-ups when the Bailey made their first march ever into the stadium, and I know my grandpa and family members were a part of that. And I think that's when everyone realized that this team is not like any other team. And it kind of set the tone for the growth of the entire organization. And I think everything has kind of grown from this moment. So it's really fun to think back on and watch this game again, honestly.
For sure. Well, you're bringing it across the midfield right now, Jimmy. Ugo, enjoy the sunshine. We appreciate you being a surprise guest and joining us to talk about the Wonder Goal. Congratulations on your success. Welcome back to the United States.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and congrats to all your guys' success as well. And good luck the rest of the season. I'll be watching.
Thank you. Cheers. Good luck to you. Stay well.
All right.
Later, Oogs. I'll see you on Xbox.
All right, Jimbo. Absolutely.
You mentioned Xbox there, and I would imagine, Jimmy, that you and a lot of your teammates right now are playing a whole lot of video games and maybe staying connected that way as we work through this downtime and quarantine and staying healthy and all that.
Definitely. It sounds funny, but it honestly is a good way to kind of stay connected with your friends, and especially in our industry when guys are moving teams so much. So we have a great group that consistently kind of plays together with a bunch of old players between Antoine Hopino, Forrest Lasso, Tyler Pollock, Aaron Walker, Evan Lee. I mean, a bunch of guys who've who've played for the team kind of all still play Fortnite together. Spencer's a big player, obviously. So me and Spencer are connecting with these guys, and it's just kind of cool to see all the generations of FC Cincinnati come together and try to get some victory royales on Fortnite.
Kev, what do you know about Fortnite?
I have no idea. 2 weeks, that's what Fortnite is for me.
In 2 weeks, you might be playing Fortnite, Kevin.
I might be. That or, yeah, going insane. Jimmy, for you, kind of a serious question here, but do you feel like this break for you is probably somewhat a blessing in disguise? You're coming back, obviously, from an injury. You're back to full fitness. Does it give you a little bit extra time? Or is it the other effect where you feel like you were getting into a rhythm and now it's become maybe a level of frustration that you can't control?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been thinking about it, and I think there's ways you can look at it that it can be beneficial to me, and there's ways that you could look at it where not so much. I think just in terms of having more time from coming back from the injury is important for me. And I mean, they say to get back even to your kind of full strength and potential, it can take up to 18 months. So I'm getting closer and closer to that date. But at the same time, it's just really important for me to get back in these practices and in these real game experiences and moments. So not having that is tough, but it does allow me a little more time to really regain that fitness and regain that comfort and being completely 100%. So I mean, the reality is there's nothing we can do to change it. So, I mean, I'm looking at it as an opportunity for me to get even more fit and even more comfortable and to be even closer to my full potential when we eventually get back.
Well, getting
Jimmy,
back, I hope you do get back, and obviously I think everybody's ready to get back, but, you know, we have no control over that. You do have control over your dance moves, though, right? Did you have, like, a personal instructor in this first year? Where did this come from? Like, you've got to
That's the best question we've had all day.
That is a good question. See, it's funny because it all kind of took off with the first goal that I scored in Harrisburg. And I mean, there was this video that surfaced of Harksey with the 90 or 94 national team when they were doing all those. They made this crazy music video. And I think Ryan Martin.
94, right?
I think it must be 94. And they're like on the beach and doing these dances. And I remember at one video session, like Ryan Martin, like snuck it in the like the scout video. So ever since then, we kind of made fun of Harksey for this dance. And I obviously did the dance after I scored against Harrisburg. And then just kind of from there, it just took off and became a thing. And I don't know, it just kind of evolved. But I think it's always fun to enjoy your celebrations and scoring goals are, I mean, what everybody dreams to do. So yeah, no, we just kind of made light of the whole thing.
Are we going to see you on Dancing with the Stars? Like, that's what the fans want to know. How's
I
your
hope so.
I mean, that's the ultimate goal here, Kev. You know, I play soccer so I can get on Dancing with the Stars one day. So that's the real end game. We'll see if I can achieve that goal.
I mean, what's your favorite Jimmy goal celebration you've seen?
The bow and arrow one.
The bow and arrow one.
Oh.
Bow and arrow, because you launched it literally right where Sawyer was sitting, obviously.
I was looking for Sawyer. We were making eye contact, actually, when that happened.
Year number one, what number did you pick? This jersey's a little small on you, but we're still running it, right? Right? Turn around. Let's see. See, you got to get it in the camera, bud. There we go.
I love it, man.
Backwards. Kevo's got his jersey on. It's also a little small on Kev.
Spider?
Lynn, you had a question there. Kevin cut you off like usual.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about the atmosphere. And Jimmy, you've been there to experience it from day one. What's it like for you? And does it ever get old when you just hear your name called and just the excitement that you hear? I know last year you were rehabbing and getting back out there, but just in general, all the USL years, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it never gets old. I mean, it honestly is. It's like something out of a movie, you know. I mean, it's what you dream about when you're training in your backyard by yourself. I mean, you're dreaming about the fans screaming your name and cheering on your team. So, I mean, it gives me the goosebumps every single time, and it makes everybody on the field want to go out and give 100% and give these amazing fans a win. So, I mean, it really, even just thinking about it now, I mean, it gives me the shivers. It's something really special, and it's been there since the first game. I mean, as we're seeing now, and just to see it grow over the years and get bigger and bigger and better and better. I'm just excited to see kind of what's next for the club and see it progress to the next step. But no, what a special place to play and what an amazing group of fans that make this city so special.
How many selfies do you think you've taken with fans?
I don't know. I've really started to master the art though over the years, and I think I've got the right angle and the right lighting now to make me look the best I can in all these selfies. But yeah, no, it's a real art that it takes a while to perfect. I could give all you guys some pointers one day if you want.
Yes, please.
No, I appreciate it. I just saw a tweet that said y'all look so young back then. I think that included you, Jimmy. 22 years old, right, when you joined the club?
Yeah, no, it's crazy to think about. I mean, what is it? 4 years ago, 5 years ago now?
And 4+ years ago that you would have signed, right? January of 16.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I mean, there's so many pictures from this game that like they still use on social media and stuff, and we all had planned to grow crazy mustaches for this first game, and it was Ross Tomaselli's idea, and well, one, I can't grow a mustache really, so I did my best, but the night before the game, Ross shaved his mustache, so there's only like 4 or 5 guys who actually Guido has it, Austin has it. I don't know who else has it.
Did Harry have it? We'll have to pay attention here.
But yeah, no, keep an eye out for the mustaches because they were a big talking point, and people were not very happy with Ross for shaving his mustache last minute.
I would imagine that Corbs did.
I'm sure Corbin did.
Corbin probably did, but I remember seeing it, and obviously with Austin, I mean, that moment, which ends up, we'll see in the second half, ends up being the game-winning goal. That was the photo used in previewing this match on social media today. And his mustache is very apparent there. There's weeds on the screen.
Pat McMahon has it for sure. I know
Pat McMahon. And, we get a couple questions I want to talk about the 11 starters from this game here in a little bit because everybody played a different role, I think, in the early years of this club. But we're backed up on Facebook on a few questions, so I want to knock some out. This first one, from Eli Schwartz. This is for you, Jimmy. Besides Nippert Stadium, what was your favorite stadium to play in?
Ooh, in the USL?
Open-ended, I guess, but wherever you want to take it.
Geez, let me think. What a question. I mean, I guess I made my MLS debut in Kansas City. That's, I think, obviously one of the best places in the league in terms of stadiums, and I know that's what a lot of the new stadiums are kind of modeling themselves after. I mean, I always loved playing back in Bethlehem and even in Harrisburg, even though those are some kind of goofy setups, but they always were special to me just because my family and friends could come to those games. So I actually think Pittsburgh has a really good setup in terms of USL. The stadium's a little bit small, but it's right on the river and has a cool view of the skyline. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these USL setups are getting better and better, and they're really focusing on making the right stadium for the capacity that they usually draw. And there's a lot of cool places to play now. I mean, you look at Louisville and their new stadium, which is obviously beautiful, and Indy has a good setup, and St. Louis has a cool setup. There's a lot of teams here that have a good setup in the USL now.
I loved watching the Harrisburg games when there would be 48 people there and 41 of them were related to you.
Yeah, we got some home field advantage when we would go to Harrisburg. What a fun place to play on City Island.
There was almost your first goal, Jimmy. A save made after Ugo pulled down in the box, and you got a shot off just inside.
Yeah, I'm watching right now. I'm just a couple seconds behind.
Yeah,
I don't get the most of that one. I do remember that play pretty specifically. Ugo does really well, and honestly, it could be a penalty, but
it's too bad you didn't score that. I mean, I feel like had you scored there to make it 2-0, you really would have won over the hearts of the fans, and it never really transpired from there.
I know that could have been the moment.
Jimmy, was there contact from behind on that?
I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I do think I was a little off balance. Is this the replay here?
Yeah, they show a couple potential fouls there. Oh, it looks like Dallas J. They just showed the bench. You're gonna see it right behind us. Dallas J. went mustache for that game.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Dallas J. Fun fact: the only FC Cincinnati player, and maybe any player, to get a red card from the bench. So.
Well, you're right. I think, and I mean, look, the three of us have been involved in pretty much every single match. Like I can't think of another one, Kev.
I remember that game though.
Our guest tomorrow, by the way, just real quick. Tomorrow we're going to do this again. As at noon tomorrow, will replay the May 11th, 2019 MLS match, FC Cincinnati against Montreal, which of course was Yohan Dame's first as interim head coach. Yohan Dame may have a couple red cards from the bench as well while we're on the topic. And we're going to find out if he's watching this in about 3 seconds if I get a text message saying as much. Yeah, we'll watch that tomorrow, of course. Sally will be watching tomorrow for everybody and probably joining us here. But Yo's going to join us here on the second screen chat room, and Fatai Lashe will join us to talk about he scored the game winner in that one. We have one here from Eric Willoughby. Jimmy, do you ever play as yourself on FIFA 2020? I think the question is obviously, right? Yeah.
I mean, I have a few times. Unfortunately, I'm not super good on FIFA 20, so it can be a bit frustrating to play with myself. And they don't rate us MLS players very highly. So I usually stick to the higher tier 5-star teams if I'm looking for some real enjoyment in FIFA. But yeah, no, I'm gonna have to talk to some people and get those ratings adjusted a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Watching through this game, Jimmy, a couple of familiar faces and kind of a blast from the past. This Harrison Delbridge. You ever talk to him? You keep in contact?
Yeah. No, Harry's been one of my closest friends kind of over the years. He was my roommate for 2 years. Obviously, it's tough with the time difference and everything in Australia, but we'll catch up every couple months and send a few texts here and there. But I mean, what a fantastic player and what a fantastic guy. But he's doing great down in Australia. He's playing a lot. He's doing really well on one of the top teams in Melbourne City. So yeah, no, he's somebody we all miss here, and someone that I was hoping maybe one day would come back to FC Cincinnati and MLS.
Tommy and I were massive fans as well. I think we're hoping for the same thing. He was such a character as well. I think just off the field too. You know, like you said, he was a great person, good leader. But even as a pro, he just kind of showed up and did his thing, which was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hugo kind of touched on it earlier, just how close this team was. And I think that's something that kind of set the tone for the culture for FC Cincinnati going forward. I mean, this team was so close-knit, and I think us going through this experience together with everything just kind of happening so fast and having all these fans and having all this success, it really brought everyone together, and it helped the team over ever since today. I mean, I think it really created a good culture for the organization, and I think this team in particular is such a big part of that entire foundation that was built.
Lindsay, we have a question for you. This is from Jim. He wants to know what your fondest memory from FC Cincinnati year number 1 was.
I mean, there are a lot of memories from the opener, but I'm going to go Crystal Palace. And that's a softball answer. I know it. But that match, I mean, honestly, I can't believe what happened that day. It was a great atmosphere. I mean, we had a fun broadcast, and just seeing Nippert Stadium sold out was awesome. So I'm going to go Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and I think that at least for me and Jimmy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it because, look, there's 14,000 at this game on a freezing cold April night. And I think the reaction was, and, it was very unfounded at the time, but it was, well, tickets were given out. The city was blanketed and 30,000 tickets were given out, which wasn't true. And only 14,000 showed up. So you're going to have 5,000 next week and 2,000 the rest of eternity. And in reality, and Jeff Smith, I'm sure will text me if I'm wrong, but I think that this crowd in now 4+ years of professional soccer in the city is probably one of the 5 worst league match attended crowds in the history of the team, maybe one of the 3 worst, with only 14,000 there. And the next week there was 17,000. And then, there was that one game, I think it was in the pouring rain, maybe against Harrisburg, when it dipped to 12,000. But after that, it was 17 and 18,000 every single night. And that Crystal Palace match comes around. And I remember, Kev, when we walked down the steps to the front of the broadcast booth, we have a two-tier affair at Nippert Stadium. And we walked down 5 minutes before, and I've told this story before, but Cincinnatians, and it has nothing to do with FC Cincinnati, it's with every sport, are just historically late for events, right? Like we go to a Bearcats game or Xavier game or Reds game or Bengals game, people get there late, right, Lindsay? You got my back on this. Like that's just how it is. And I remember walking down, and it was about 5 or 6 minutes until kickoff, and I tapped Kevin. I said, Kevin, you see this? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, no, do you see this? Like, they're all here. There was 35,000 people packed shoulder to shoulder at every single seat before you guys walked out onto the pitch. And that for me was like the chills down your spine moment that I was like, this team has arrived.
And the praise they got from Crystal Palace was awesome after it
Yeah.
was there. And they said the atmosphere, they felt it. I mean, they play in front of those crowds and they thought it was breathtaking what Cincinnati did. And I just, that moment will forever be one of my favorites of year one.
Tommy, I was just trying to catch up with your big stride. To be honest, I don't remember that too much.
I don't remember that. There's a moment coming up later in this game too, and it's about the 75th minute where I literally shush you on the air. I think it goes, yes, listen. And you can hear the stadium chanting FCC, FCC. And I thought that was that's one of those moments that'll stick with me forever, especially from this game. And then, I mean, just to wrap up that Crystal Palace lens, and Jimmy, I'm sure the guys in the dressing room just went nuts. Because, look, Dan Williams was the 27-year-old journeyman goalkeeper. He never appeared in his couple of years with the club in a league match or an Open Cup match, and he was at training every day. And when he wasn't training, he was camping in the woods somewhere. And, right? And for him to come in the last 15 minutes and make the 3 saves that he makes against Crystal Palace was unbelievable, right?
And I think that's what was also so special about that game. You know, obviously 35,000 is absurd, the amount of people. And I think that probably is the highest attended game ever in FC Cincinnati history because they took the seats out after, right? So to have that special attendance game and to have everybody on the roster play was really, really cool. And it gave everyone a chance on the team who have worked so hard behind the scenes, a chance to really experience the Nippert atmosphere. And you know, every weekend it's 11 guys who start the game and there's 14 total that could play the game. But there's way more guys on the roster who have such an impact on the success of the team. So when you can reward everybody and get everyone in the field, it's a special night too.
No doubt. I just got a question. Eric chiming back in. He wants to know if my kids are eating grilled cheese sandwiches. I don't know if you can see the reaction there. I actually have 2 of the only children known to man who don't like grilled cheese sandwiches, although I'm guessing our friend Lindsay.
No, I love that. I don't like them either.
Yeah.
Team grilled cheese.
What? No, it's not. Peanut butter and jelly, Eric, just to be crystal clear.
Yep.
Peanut butter and jelly here in the G household. No grilled cheese. But I do have one here from Drew Manning, and I'm not exactly sure who it's intended to for, so you can all answer it if you would like.
Be careful with this question.
Oh, no.
I guess it's somebody that you know. If you were a pirate, what would your pirate name be?
What would your pirate name be?
Oh, you can answer this too.
You guys should take that one.
If you were a pirate, what would your pirate name be? You don't know? Think about that. Chew on that for a little bit. Mitch?
Mitch.
It says no.
Yeah, Mitch says no would be a good pirate name.
Yeah, Mitch says no would be a
Mitch
good
might be a pirate, honestly.
Right? It's not a question.
He's stealing goals from Chicago Fire still, so he could be a pirate.
For the rest of eternity. I mean, we talk about that 2017 game, and my whole family was on vacation that week, and I flew back from vacation to call the match, and got up at 6 a.m. the next day to fly back and rejoin my family on vacation. And I'll never forget I didn't bring clothes home with me because I was just going right back on vacation. And so I flew home and I got up in the morning, took a shower, and I was looking at my clothes, and my Mitch Says No shirt was laying there.
Love it.
You know, from our friends over at Cincy Shirts, and it was sitting on my dresser, and I was like, well, this is what I have to wear, right? Like, you had this spectacular night. I have to wear this Mitch Says No shirt. So this is what I put on, and a pair of shorts, and I head back out to the airport. And I'm walking through CBG, and who am I walking straight into? Chicago Fire.
No.
Oh, yeah, but it gets better. So I go sit down on my gate. I wasn't on the same flight as them, but I definitely saw them. At some point, I realized I probably should grab a pack of gum. And I go to get a pack of gum. As I'm paying, I turn around, and who's right behind me? Janino.
Oh, my gosh. The last one, huh?
Yeah, and if I had, like, a little bit more courage, I would have gone with asked him for a quick selfie with my Mitch Says No shirt on and Janino. I don't know him very well, so I don't know if he would have gone for that. But yeah, that obviously another pretty amazing moment for FC Cincinnati. Jimmy, we got a question here from Patty Ann, and she wants to know, has the culture changed in the locker room going from USL to Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's natural. You know, it obviously has evolved, and I think the team was a lot of young guys in these early USL days. You know, I mean, it was a lot of guys kind of coming out of college or first few years as a pro, and now as you kind of grow into an MLS roster, it's much more experienced guys and a more diverse roster, more guys from all over the world, opposed to the early year, it was a lot of guys kind of out of college in the U.S. or from mostly America, honestly. I mean, we had maybe 4 or 5 internationals, where now the team is maybe 15 internationals. So, yeah, I think the culture definitely changes, and that's just the normal way it progresses as you go up to MLS. But it's still a great culture, and we've kept all the core values that the team has had since year one. And I think that's such an important thing going forward. And for us to have success in MLS, it's crucial for us to continue with that and to make sure that we stick to these roots that we built.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we started this broadcast with Jeff Birding talking about those core values on August 12, 2015. And, you know, that has certainly been what the team has stuck with throughout. Obviously, you're the last remaining OG. So you've seen it all from then. A fun fact here is we're roll on to the 33rd minute of our first ever FC Cincinnati broadcast. Nima Sagafi, the match official for that game, now a mainstay in Major League Soccer. So we see Nima now about 2 or 3 times a year. He had just made his Major League Soccer debut 2 weeks earlier, and then was officiating this match. I don't remember. Did he have a particularly decent day? I think so. It wasn't bad. Maybe missed that penalty there, but otherwise we didn't have much beef with him that day, did we, Jimmy?
I thought he did a good job. I don't remember too many bad calls, so I was happy with him.
Kev, I don't really ever express my feelings on the air if I don't like the officials, right? I mean, I keep it pretty level.
I have to calm you down a little bit, because you definitely lose it sometimes. I think you're a little.
Very rarely.
They bring it back to like a good balance. So.
I mean, just one. I think there was one infamous moment where maybe I had some thoughts about a poor officiating performance, but other than that, you know, I keep it pretty level-headed. What do you know about the Charlotte team coming in? I mean, I'd imagine your experience in the USL, you had played with a bunch of these guys already, right?
Yeah. I knew a few guys on the team. I knew Jan Ekra, one of the midfielders. I knew Cody Mazzell a little bit, Bilal Duckett. So I knew a few guys. I knew they had a good team. And they were kind of strong in the USL. And I don't know, everything at the same time, it was so new, and we were playing it at home for the first time. And we this team mostly focused on themselves, and we really thought that we had the best team in the league, and we had a really fun style to watch, and that we could outplay anybody. So, yeah, obviously we knew they were a good team, but we were focusing on ourselves and putting together a good performance, which we did.
Mike Jeffries, legendary coach, for Charlotte, Herman Trophy Award winner. This was actually a battle of 2 Herman Trophy Award winning managers in this game. His keys for the game, you guys can tell me how you think Charlotte did. This is what I had written on my chart from that day. Handle the atmosphere. Good job defensively. Well, we already know they did there. And move quickly, maintain possession.
I don't know how many of those that they hit. Yeah, I mean, I think we did a really good job here after the first maybe 5-10 minutes. I mean, we get the goal, and I think we kind of settle into the game, and it's fun to watch this team play. I mean, I think this FC Cincinnati group maybe played the most attractive style of play over the years. I mean, we really tried to keep possession. We really tried to be fluid in the attack and be offensive minded, and it was a real fun group to watch. And I think there were a lot of talented players on this team, and for being a brand new group, to see how this team came together so quickly and played the style that we did is it's honestly pretty special. And I also think that's a big reason of why this kind of all took off, was because of the style of play that this team had, and because this team won a lot of games at home. I think it kind of set the tone for what FC Cincinnati is all about going forward, and a big reason of why the success continued in the future.
I think there was a lot of balance in that team, especially like the attacking forward, Jimmy, where you've got Sean as a target player, Corbin, in this game at least, is kind of playing underneath, and then you're on one side and Weeda's on the other side too. But just that fluid movement, there was a lot of kind of understanding, especially between the 4 of you. You had Kenny kind of sitting back there, kind of putting the strings a little bit too, right? It was. I agree with you. I think it was fun to watch. And the most important thing, especially in the first year when you establish a pro team, it has to be entertaining, right? And you've got to get the fans excited about it. And I agree with you completely. I think you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look back on this team and you see some of these great performances, and I think we just maybe had trouble sometimes closing games out. And even in this game, like I think you watch it and we really are controlling the game. I think we're clearly the better team, and we go up 2-0 in the second half, but then we give up a goal right after, and then we're kind of battling 2-1 for the rest of the game, and never really kind of pull away with the result. And I think that was kind of the Achilles heel of this team. And you look at the playoff game against Charleston, and the same thing, we take the lead and dominating the game, and they kind of scored 2 scrappy goals. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the story for the group. But yeah, what's some fun soccer to watch, and some great players in this team.
Tom Glitter, Kim McCloskey, Lindsey Patterson, and the legend, Jimmy McLaughlin, joining us here on the live stream on Facebook. Your second screen experience as we all watch now in the 37th minute with FC Cincinnati leading in their first ever home USL match, an encore presentation on Star 64 right now. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate everybody joining us. Facebook, we're taking questions live on Facebook, so send them in, and we will relay them to whomever you have a question for. Lindsay, Kevin, Jimmy, Austin Barry's going to join us for the second half when we see what ends up being his game-winning goal. Not to spoil anything for anybody, but if this is the first time you're watching it, I apologize. This one's actually for you, Lindsay. And it's unclear if this is the setup, if they know. I think I may know where this is going, but we'll see what you say. What is the most embarrassing moment you've had reporting on the sidelines?
Wow.
Oh my goodness, plenty.
Yeah, I mean, let's first half dive in. You might want to switch your coffee over to a Vibe or something.
I mean, if you want to go ahead and throw one of your favorites, I know that Tommy likes to record me before we go on the air, because I usually like to do my hit out loud, maybe just me, myself, and I.
Yes.
Tommy likes to record that, me talking to myself, but there's plenty. And after we do this, I'm going to think of all of the most embarrassing.
I know which one that I was thinking of when I read it here. And there's no video of it. It's the most frustrating thing ever. I employ an entire video crew, and nobody captured it. The TV crew didn't capture it. Was it last year or the year before?
No, it was last year. And here's the thing. We didn't have a whole lot of time. I wore this jumpsuit. Here's one important thing to know, and I should have known it last year. I wore like heels.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Never wear them. Any sideline reporter, anybody who's on the sideline, don't wear heels. Wear tennis shoes. Wear something comfortable. I wore heels that day. I think there was a little bit of mist out there on the field, and I was running back from halftime getting my notes, and my jumpsuit got tangled up in my heel. I went flying. My mic went flying. It actually broke and twisted off. My IFB went flying, and fell on my face. And someone out there probably has video, but I remember looking.
Did you pay them off?
I probably, because I remember looking up and everyone just said, oh my, like they just looked at me like, oh no, that was probably embarrassing for you, because the match hadn't started. It was going to get started. I was running back for my hit. And this girl, I can't even remember her name. She came up, helped me put my shoe on, mic'd me back up, and I was good to go. But I am thankful. Our camera guy on the sideline with me, he wasn't near me. He didn't see it, but that was definitely the most embarrassing moment ever. And that guy probably did see that.
Yeah, I'm crushed. You mentioned to us after the game, and you were like, "Where's the video of it?" And we didn't have any. How about this moment right here, Jimmy? Henry Kalungi stepping up to Harrison Delbridge. Like, that's not a very, very smart decision.
No, that's not a fight you want to take. Yeah, no, Harrison is he's a gentle giant, but if you rev him up on the soccer field, no, he'll be the one to come out on top of that fight. So, yeah, it's
2017 when he got knocked in the head, and you came flying into his defense when he. I forget, it might have been somebody in Charlotte the next year. Was it the next year when someone caught him with an elbow and he went down with a huge wound right in front of the bench? And who's the first guy to come and get in the big lad's face who cleaned him out? It was number 20, right?
Yeah, sometimes you got to have the big brother come over there and help him out. We were really the dynamic duo, the Bash Bros back then. I think Force and our
what was your name?
We were the Bash Bros.
Dynamic duo, Jimmy Jimmy and Harrison.
Harry and I were really a force to be reckoned with. You know, two big guys like that. You wouldn't want to mess with us on the field.
When did the bromance with Wade develop?
Early, yeah, that was an early development. I met Wida once before at a mutual friend's wedding, but no, I don't know. We quickly became friends, and I realized that he had terrible banter, so I could easily kind of make fun of him and have some fun with him, and he would try to kind of join in. So he's still working on it. He's learning the whole banter stuff, and I like to think I can mentor him in that capacity.
Kind of like a big brother figure for you at that point?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Big brother and annoying little brother? Or?
Yeah. No, we always have fun with each other and are always messing around.
Jimmy, who was the joker on this team? Who was the
We had a lot of jokers on this team, honestly. I mean, Ross was a big joker. Ugo was a big joker. Tyler Pollock, Antoine. This team had a lot of fun personalities and a lot of guys who would make sure that nobody could get away with doing something silly without hearing for it.
That question actually just basically came in on Facebook. John Plank wanted to know who's the funniest guy on the team. Essentially the same, or was there one guy that you could pinpoint was the funniest guy?
Dallas J was really funny. Is really funny. Harrison, super funny. I don't know if I could really pinpoint it. I guess if I had to pinpoint it, I think Tyler Pollock would be my sneaky number one. I mean, he's got a real dry sense of humor, and he's a guy whose humor definitely grows on you.
There you go, Jimmy. You just got taken down. It looks like Jorge Herrera. Let's look at this foul again. Oh yeah, did Jorge get booked here? I think Sagapi put him in the book. Ugo has your back. He's going for it.
Yeah, you know, it's always good to have the roommates coming and back you up. Ugo and Harry were my roommates this first year.
No, it's 6.
You got to talk to your mom about Pringles, buddy. You didn't get enough chips. You got to go to your mom for that grief.
I had like 20 then.
You had 20? Well, I think you're good.
Then
Then.
I got 24. I get 26.
All right.
I
got questions though for Jimmy here.
Like
20 plus 24 is 44 plus 6 is 50.
Okay, guys, we gotta move along with our questions.
30.
30. All right. Well, how many did I get? Who has snacks for me? Nobody. I mean, Kev, you got snacks over there? I know Kev has snacks.
Tommy, how's your teaching been going this week? Are you getting good reviews from the
Both my teachers have submitted change of teacher request forms. We've had a couple suspensions, I think, and we've had a teacher reprimanded for drinking on the job. So we had excess recess yesterday. I figured it was Friday before spring break, so I now understand why teachers love spring break so much after 4 or 5 days of homeschooling this week. There's nothing more than I want to be locked in the booth for 3 hours with Kevin at this juncture in my life. Let's see. We got a couple more questions coming here on Facebook. This is a great one from Jim. Who was the most underrated player on that USL 2016 club?
For me, Tyler Pollock again. I mean, there's so many good players on this team, and I think it's obvious who kind of the big names were, you know, and there were so many great players. But I think Tyler Pollock's somebody who never got enough love from everybody in terms of the USL and the fan base and whatnot. I mean, I think he is a really, really special player who is a smaller defender, you know, and he's somebody who plays the left back position as a really attacking role, kind of similar to the way Greg Garza plays it, honestly. And I had a really good connection with him playing on the left side, and he's a guy that makes a winger's job a lot easier, and he makes you a better player. So I would pick Tyler Pollock.
You know, Derek wants to know who's the scariest defender in FC Cincinnati history, Delbridge, Waston, or somebody else?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think Declan Cannon's got to be in that conversation too. I think Declan might be the number one. I mean, he's somebody who only wears old school black Adidas Copas, and he's coming in for a hard tackle every chance he gets. I've never seen somebody love defending so much. After practice, you know, a lot of guys do extra stuff. They'll do some shooting and stuff like that. He'll just have guys smash balls at him, and he'll just head them away and just clear them. Like, that's the kind of stuff Declan was doing. So he's a defender, true and true, and I think he takes the number one spot there. And I think a lot of guys would agree with that.
That clock is over.
It's called stoppage time. We're in stoppage time in the first half. So We didn't quite have it worked out on the clock to keep ticking. I think the next week we fixed that to
Hey,
climb on. Yeah, Kevo.
halftime feature here as well, or what?
The halftime feature here is skipped. We have a condensed 2-hour window for this broadcast. So in order, Star 64 has helped us out with some airtime today and tomorrow. And obviously these games are also streaming on fccincinnati.com. So it'll be the same thing tomorrow as well, where we will bypass both the halftime feature. So you will not be able to relive our halftime interview without Papadakis. And then you will miss another on-camera appearance by Kevo as he tries to figure out where the camera is and where to look during his first ever live halftime segment of highlights. So we'll get through halftime pretty quick. We will take a break on television. Hopefully somebody will bring me some snacks over here or something, or a grilled cheese or something along those lines. It's crazy when you look at this roster, Jimmy, and you talk about it, and I agree with your Deckle answer. Like, nobody wants to be tackled by Deckle in a game or in practice. But you look at the starters from this first game, and starting with Mitch in goal and Tyler Pollock, who had a great run with FC Cincinnati. And then we've talked about Harrison Delbridge and Ross Tomaselli and Kenny Walker, who had an incredible run, and with you and Corbin for a while were the last remaining OGs, and Ugo, who did a lot in the first year. There's the guy. And he went back with the facial hair. He brought it back. Austin Berry, ladies and gentlemen, joining us.
What's going on, guys?
Austin, how are you? You have a sleeping baby. It looks like life is good.
Yeah, it's Lily's professional debut.
Love it.
Luckily,
Congratulations.
she's sacked out. Yeah.
Um,
What are you laughing at, Jim?
That's a strong look. I mean, I'll tell you what, it gets better every time you grow it. I think it just grows in a little fuller.
Getting really bored in quarantine over here, so I had to do something.
Yeah, it makes sense. Lindsay, we're watching on TV your interview here with John Harks going to the break. Were you nervous there?
Oh, I'm sure I was.
Yeah, a little bit.
I had some memorable interviews with John Harks.
Yeah. Yes, there was a good one. I think at least this one you were leading 1-0. So that works out pretty well going into the dressing room. So we have a very abbreviated halftime. So we're going to see what ends up being the game-winning goal. But Austin, good to see you. I'd imagine. Obviously you have your hands full with a newborn at home right now. I don't think you thought you'd be home changing as many diapers at this juncture as you end up doing, huh?
Yeah, but it's also given us some time to spend a lot more time with her, play and get used to her without having to travel around and have trainings. Getting a little stir crazy, but getting to take advantage of a lot of family time right now, which is nice.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you carving out some of that family time and joining us. We've been having a fun chat here as we go through the first ever broadcast. I hope you have it on the background over there, so you've been able to keep an eye on that first night. FC Cincinnati was on television here in Cincinnati. It was your hometown. We had a surprise drop in from Ugo around the 5th minute to talk about his wonder goal that gave you the one. Yes, it's still 1-0. Halftime. Hey, you want to say hi to Austin? Sully?
What's up, bud?
See his daughter on there too? Yeah, he just had a baby, right? in the blink of an eye, Austin.
I know.
This is what you'll have. So
yeah.
enjoy those moments, that you have right there. But we talked to Jimmy and Ugo about it. But you being a native and coming home at that point in your career to play in this game at 27 years old, what were the emotions like for you that night?
Oh, no, it was awesome. I mean, like I think I've said in some interviews before, I've been blessed to have some of my family travel and see my games, but there's a lot of my friends, my little cousins, and a bunch of other people that I grew up with, that grew up watching me and watched me from afar, that were able to start coming out to my games. So, that was a big selling point when I decided to come back, play at home in Cincy. It was an easy decision, but that tops the list of being able to have, extended family and friends being able to watch us on a weekly basis.
So we're in halftime right now, and we'll resume the second half pretty quickly. But for both of you, Jimmy and Austin, I'm pretty sure Austin was a change the jersey guy. What were your halftime routines, or what are your halftime routines as a player?
I think Austin changed like everything he was wearing. I'm pretty sure that was Austin's
Okay.
halftime routine.
Okay. Shoes. Yeah, I think the shin guards were the only thing. Shin guard and mouth guard were the only thing from the first half that I kept.
Wow. When did that develop? I mean, I can't imagine playing at Louisville. You had that opportunity. So it had to have been rookie year in Chicago when you had extra kits and uniform items available.
Well, for sure, it wasn't even a thought in my mind until Chicago and the couple guys that were around me. I remember watching them like changing everything, and it was like, oh, like that's when I first realized that I had extra.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me that I could put on dry clothes at halftime. So yeah, it was definitely that first year in Chicago realizing that was actually a thing that guys did, because in college, in high school, and in playing club, that's not even an afterthought.
Kev, you can do your halftime routine. Go get a snack, and you can leave us for a moment, just like you do on the real broadcast. Yeah, there he goes.
Yeah,
this is the McCloskey routine. Let me tell you, he looks at me and goes, "How much time do we have?" And he makes a run to the restroom, and then he goes and grabs 4 cookies, maybe a brownie down the hall. He doesn't ever bring any back for me, and then we carry on with the broadcast. Jim, what's your halftime routine?
I'm a game by game kind of decision type of guy. I mean, if it's raining out or super hot and I'm sweaty, I'll change my jersey. But if things are going well and the team's playing good and I feel like I'm doing well, I'll leave it on. So no, I don't have the same routine like Austin, but who knows? Maybe that just develops in your old age.
that sounds about right. I'd like to point out, Lindsay, that you did your first hit to open the game without the heavy coat, and then you stopped trying to be a hero and put the coat on for your interview with Harks, and then your hit to start the second half. Smart.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
After that match, it was cold. It was freezing cold for April. Was it 30 or 40 degrees?
It was, I think, 38 at the start of the match, and I mean, as we all know, once that sun dips away, the temperature drops very, very quick. I mean, we're showing some of the seat covers right now. I also remember from this game, and I'm sure Dan McNally is watching, that his operations staff, which is much, 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 much smaller than it is now. I mean, those guys work so hard to get the stadium ready with Jeff Smith and his entire staff. I mean, it was all hands on deck. The club at the time, I think, maybe only had 30 or 35 employees, maybe not even that many, on the day of the first home game. And, they had worked so hard. Dan had texted me last night, and he was kind of reliving the night before. He said he didn't sleep a wink the night before that game, thinking of all the things that could go wrong. And, they had to put up all those seat covers. And I think it was after this game that someone stole the night?
Oh yeah, stole the card.
Yeah, I think there was a reward put out, or no questions asked return policy, and it did end up being returned. But yeah, those tarps so much had to be done to prepare this facility to play professional soccer. So it's certainly a big shout out to Dan McNally and Jeff Smith and everybody who was involved in getting 14,000 to the stadium. The public goal going into it was 10,000, and we're seeing the delay here from Lindsay's report to the start, and the visitors locker room. You guys never had to really deal with it, but the visitors locker room at Nippert at the time, now it's changed for Major League Soccer, but in USL it was about a half a mile away, right? Like, it was quite a ways up. And I remember our producer David Ashbrook singing in my ear, like, where are they? Like, where's the team? Why are they not out here? And the referees and Charlotte were way late coming back out onto the pitch to start the second half, is how I remember it, at least.
Yeah, it was a big advantage for us, I mean, any advantage we could get, we wanted to put them all the way up across the big street that gets you into UC if we could. But no, they had a long walk up and down the steps. I mean, it wasn't easy. I got a question for you, though, Austin, because I'm watching this game now, and obviously almost every game we try to go the same direction in the first half. We would go away from the Bailey and then come to the Bailey on the second half. Did you guys talk about that before the game? I mean, obviously this was the first time. And then it kind of just stuck ever since.
That is too deep of a question, Jimmy. I have no idea. I don't know if we've ever thought about that, because
You're a captain.
Yeah, I know that, Tom. But no, I mean, I think maybe we talked about it. I don't know. I don't know if we ever got that in depth with it, but I think it was always just like, I don't even know if we had to talk about it. It was like, hey, if we can, like, second half, we're going to our supporters. I mean, I think that's a thing for most clubs and pretty much all the clubs that I've been with. There's obviously, one bigger supporting section. Oh, there's a close up of Jimmy's attempted mustache. That's a good look.
What about the hair back then?
Shizzler didn't have the top quality cameras that we have nowadays to be able to high def capture Jimmy's mustache, but he
it'd look way better
this
now.
high angle. David Ashbrook, our producer, texted me. Kev, you remember, it drove us all crazy. We are fortunate that during the final year in USL and then for these years in Major League Soccer, we've had the lower angle in the concourse, but boys, it's steep. And I'm reminded of how much I appreciate the lower camera angles that we have now. We'll see that tomorrow at noon when we re-air the May 11th match from last against Montreal, win for the Orange and Blue and the coaching debut of Yohan Dame. He'll join us for that chat room. If you're joining us on Facebook, and boy, well, it was a near goal to start the second half right there with the blast from the right side. Kenny Walker taking it, and Kenny, a guy we'll talk about as this goes on, and also knew very, very well a very deadly shot if you gave him time to unleash one.
That was that outside.
No, it hit the side of the net.
Oh.
So didn't quite make it in. We have a couple questions coming in on Facebook here. Steve, this one from me actually. He wants to know about our friend Mathieu Deplagne and the pronunciation of his last name, which has been something that has been widely discussed since his arrival and in this preseason. And his description to me was to go with Deplagne, just like an airplane. So after Deplagne last year, we'll go with Deplagne here in 2020. And these sometimes we're given different pronunciations. And, it's very tricky. I spend a lot of time with broadcasters talking about it because it's very important for me to get right. Look, McLaughlin has been mispronounced across the days. My dear son calls him McBrooklyn. So sometimes I've nearly slipped and said that on the air. But it's certainly something that we work very hard on to make sure that it is right. Austin, this one comes from John on Facebook. He wants to know, how did it feel to knock off the Chicago Fire in penalty kicks in the Open Cup?
Oh, it obviously felt really good. That was actually one. It was a very big surprise for me to get traded at that point in preseason, but it also gave me the opportunity to join up with this lovely gentleman, Jimmy McLaughlin, over in Philly.
It's McLaughlin.
Friendship, but it definitely felt good. There weren't a lot of guys that were there back when I was playing with it, so it wasn't too big of a revenge match, but it did feel good. Did feel good winning that game, and it still gives me goosebumps watching some of the clips and some of the videos that get put out from that game.
Moment, man.
I didn't see the Austin Berry statue when we were out there for the game last year. Kev, did you see it?
It's probably being erected soon, though.
Yeah, they're probably waiting till the move to Soldier Field to put it there.
Yeah, more traffic, more foot traffic by it.
Yeah, makes sense. That's good. That's good. This one comes from Kevin Edward Wallace, not Kevin McCloskey. I'll never forget Austin winking at the Chicago Fire captain when picking which side you were going to shoot at in that game.
Oh yeah, well that was it was
Was it Juninho?
Before he right before we started the coin flip, he was like, "Well, we're gonna attack that end." Like he wanted to. Like he didn't want to have the penalties at the other end. He wanted even if it was opposing fans. I mean, their fans were over there too. But he wanted to attack that way anyway. So he was getting frustrated that we were going to have to do the coin toss. And then we won the coin toss, and I was like, yeah, we're going to attack that way anyway. So that was the wink from that.
Worked out all right. Was a pretty fun night for FC Cincinnati. We're coming up on the 50th minute, so we're getting close to the hometown hero score, and we'll keep an eye on that. In the meantime, this one comes from Jim, sending in a question on Facebook. We've been having about 200 people watching us here now for a little bit over an hour. We're going to be with you all the way up until 2 o'clock with our chat room here. Tom Goerger, we got Kevin McCloskey back from his halftime routine, Lindsey Patterson, Jimmy McLaughlin, and Austin Berry joining us, Big Papa Berry, new dad, joining us here for the second half as we get ready to see his goal. But Jim wants to know, AB, how different is the strength and conditioning circuit in Major League Soccer versus the USL as a player, what you saw, and then obviously now as a coach?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
There's a few different levels to this, but obviously you played both as a player in Major League Soccer and the USL, and now you've made the transition as a coach in strength and conditioning, both in the USL and MLS. And he was asking about how different it is, the strength and conditioning routines for players and coaches on the two different levels.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I think from just an area that the strength and conditioning has definitely grown from, back when Jimmy and I kind of first started playing professional soccer to where it is now. I think that area of focus has gotten a lot bigger in professional soccer. I think for us personally at FC Cincinnati, it's grown just from a facility standpoint. I mean, back in this year, I think, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we did gym work maybe 2 times. That entire first 2 seasons
in the rec center, the UC Rec Center.
Yeah, the UC Rec Center. So I think we did that maybe twice, and then so moving last year we had a very good hookup with the Mac gym that was up the street, which was here we go.
Oh, here, Austin, we
gotta let this one play out, right?
Yeah. Good ball, Jimbo. Let's get
Jimmy and Austin.
There.
My favorite part of this goal is how you make the run from midfield all the way into the box.
Well, I guess that I was figuring we were gonna have to tell the old 6-ball story, weren't we, Jimmy?
Yeah, you're gonna have to take that one.
Oh, you want me to take that one?
You get that one. Let's soak up the goal for a minute, and then I want to hear that.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about the goal first.
Yeah, I mean, the goal, and a side note there, you see one of my guys, Mark Graham, running with a camera, running with you as you take off, down the end line. Wild story. Mark had broken both his elbows 2 months earlier, and that was the first time he had held a camera since then. So he said it was so cold he couldn't even feel his elbows at that point. There's the facial hair. Look, it just as good as it is right now. But take us to the goal, Austin.
Oh yeah, man. Right before it, there was stepped in midfield and was able to win the ball and send it on out to Jimmy, and I was already pretty close to the goal anyways, and Parksy kind of gave us the freedom, or at least gave me the freedom to do kind of whatever I wanted. So I started to meander towards the box, and knowing Jimmy for as long as we did, there was probably a 102% chance that he was going to cut that back to his right foot. So that made it pretty easy to be able to get the timing for that ball into the box, and Jimmy put it to the perfect spot, and it was an easy finish from that standpoint.
That's not doing it justice. That's a ridiculous header. What a goal, man! Seriously, the way you are.
Jimmy, stop it.
Back. Come on.
I mean, back home in Cincinnati, your first game playing in your hometown as a professional. That's a pretty remarkable moment, and it ends up thanks to the moment we just saw being the game winning. Say hi to Austin.
Hey, Austin.
Yeah, we got
What's up, dude?
The gang's all here. Sawyer was actually at this game. Like I said, Sully had a babysitter, but Sawyer they're bundled up. So the 6-ball story. What do you got there, Austin?
Oh man, so after this game, since it was just kind of a random run forward from me, there was always, I think on Fridays, it was Fridays, right, Jim? We do that.
Literally right before the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So the day before the game, we'd play the first 3 weeks. We'd always play 5 balls, and it would 2 would start with the center backs, 2 would start full backs, and it would just be patterns to goal and finishing on Mitch. And then after this, Harksey decided to do what we called the 6-ball. So he would just punt a ball out to me, and I just do a bunch of crazy stuff and try to have a couple of finishes on Mitch. And for 2 straight weeks, we had some unbelievable finishes. I don't want to talk myself up here, but
I mean, honestly, they could not have gone better. Like,
yeah.
Harksey calls out the 6-ball for the first time. It goes to Austin. He does 5 1-2s, and then he pulls it back and does a step over and Megs Mitch, and everyone goes crazy. And the next week he did a crazy behind the leg shot upper 90. Things were taken off. So Austin kind of kept trying to one up themselves, and it was week 3, right?
It was the third week after that, right? Yeah. right before Harrisburg, I think. Harrisburg or Pittsburgh, I can't remember. So I'm like, oh God, I gotta pick it up. Something's got to be special. I was like, you know what I'll do is a 35-yard outside of the foot bender, and I ended up sending it, well over the Bailey, probably hitting the ceiling above, and in the process, getting a grade 2 tear to my quad, and that's why I was out for after that, because was the dreaded 6-ball. So that was the joke from there on out. While I'm lying on the field in pain with my quad barely attached, guys like Jimmy and Antoine, everyone else are just pointing and laughing at me for a good 10 minutes until everyone realized, oh, he's actually kind of really hurt.
I was at that session. Kev, you were there with me, right? Because we all, let's be honest, Austin, we all knew you.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at you, Kevin, and being like, Austin's down because he hit it so poorly. And
yep.
he's going to act like he's hurt because it was that bad. And Kevin looked at me and, right, Kevin? You were like, I don't know. He might be hurt.
All right, he's going to get up here in a second. He's embarrassed by the shot, but he'll get up. He never got up.
No, straight into the dressing room and then out for a bit, unfortunately, there. I remember, I'll never forget, too, Kenny. Well, and Kenny how much time would Kenny spend just ripping shots and passes out on the pitch before training, after training? I remember, Kevin, one time you tapped me. It was maybe 20 minutes before training, and he's sitting there just dropping balls from sideline to sideline in a trash can.
While brushing his teeth.
Yeah. As far as technical ability, it was almost annoying just to watch him hit it over and over and over again. I was like, this guy's too good.
Yeah.
Well, that was a huge strength of his, is just a technical repetition. I'm sure for you guys too, just as passing. Anytime that he had like a target or a trick shot or whatever, I'm sure he was the first guy to do it. So.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing him play for the first time in college down in Louisville. I had a lot of hopes, was a little big-headed when I showed up there, and I watched Kenny play for 20 minutes when he came in the same class, and like you said, how cleanly he could hit a ball, both right foot, left foot. And I remember turning to one of the other freshmen at the time, I was like, oh God, that's why they were talking about Kenny Walker before we showed up. And we were just like, oh man, we got a little bit to go.
What a player, man. He honestly, like when you're in the midfield and you're making a run out wide and Kenny gets the ball, there's one place where he's going to play it. And sometimes you kind of hold your run because you're not sure if the guy's going to kind of overhit it or underhit it. But with Kenny, it's coming perfect. And speaking of technique, think about the crazy goal he scores a couple years ago from midfield. Yeah. One, I don't even know why he's trying to shoot that. Two, the fact that he hits it the way he does and scores straight off the volley from a goal kick is honestly something remarkable.
Remember watching that game in the studio?
Well, and had no idea.
Because it was like a 3-second. The cameraman had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
3 seconds behind. I was like, what happened?
It was remarkable. He was the sheriff for a while, right? In charge of fines in the dressing room for a while. Was it the first 3 years?
I think Kenny was the sheriff. Yeah, I don't.
No, am I making it up?
At least for the first year.
Okay.
Wonderful party with the fine money after that year. We'd be in the spinning fine wheel meeting for hours before we'd have to go out to training. That was the glory years of the fine wheel, wasn't it, Jim?
Yeah, it really was. That's when I'm pretty sure Antoine dressed up in a suit to argue his case.
You said little known facts earlier, Jim. I think Antoine has the most even game to yellow card ratio in club history, right?
No surprise about that one. Yeah, Austin can vouch for that, especially on Xbox. He gets a lot of yellow cards too.
Oh, they just give me straight on PlayStation. I'm often penalized.
Oh yeah.
It's not a good thing there. We're on to the 60th minute, so about 30 minutes plus remaining here in our first of 2 encore presentations this weekend. Tomorrow we'll have the May 11th, 2019 game. Yohan Dame's coaching debut against his former club, Montreal. A victory for the Orange and Blue, including an early goal from Alan Cruz. We'll have Fatai Lashe here with us. So join us on Facebook tomorrow for another live chat room. Fatai will be here. Alex Steck will join me, and we'll also have Yohan. So that should be a fun chat right now. Jimmy McLaughlin, as well as Austin Berry, Kevin McCloskey, Lindsey Patterson, all part of our chat as we're about an hour and 20 minutes in, and certainly appreciate everybody who's been sending in questions. Kev, I just got another one for us. Well, we got two more here. Dan Albers likes the goatee, Austin. So you got a vote of confidence from Dan. As you look over to Nikki, Nikki's not feeling
Yeah, someone say that louder for Nikki.
Dan Albers likes.
Come on, Nikki.
So bad. He walked down and I was like, please say you're shaving that. That has to be.
Nope. It was legendary. What did you say? Ross Tomaselli, Jimmy, earlier was the one who stitched everybody up and shaved his the morning of the game. Was that it, Austin?
People are still upset about it.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
He also did it on a fun shirt night.
Oh, fun shirt night. We did a lot of fun things that first year.
Yeah, but the thing was, they were all Ross's idea, and then he backed out in the last minute on all of them.
Yeah, someone's got to talk to him about that.
Kev has fun shirt night every game, but I don't know.
Austin, that's a sheriff's type, though. You talk about a sheriff. I mean, that's.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
You could be a sheriff for that. So you can see that Tommy and I are growing some facial hair, not a couple of yours. Any tips for especially Tommy?
Yeah, I need tips.
Tommy's going to be.
I mean,
long quarantine beard until
yeah, I know.
further notice.
I can already tell just from here, you have better growth than I do. Unless I do something right here, it looks terrible. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Now we're going to see how good you are, Austin.
Yeah, Austin in action, live stream.
Yeah, the ratings are going off the charts on Facebook. Oh, come on. I wanted a diaper tutorial with Austin Berry or something.
See, that's how it's done, Jimmy.
Yeah, he's right.
When time gets tough,
Fantastic job.
just yell for Nikki. Yes.
Kevin, we got one for us here from Jim. He wants us to talk a bit how we prep for games, especially in getting familiarity for the opposing side.
Obviously, a lot of game film depends on what time of the season. Obviously, the first game of the year is tough because there's not much out there on preseason. So watching through that, I think the more you kind of go through the league, obviously this is our second year with MLS. It's much easier. You get to know the teams, you get to know the players, the tendencies and the trends and things like that. Both Tommy and I have charts for every player. We take notes. We look at the formations, the setup, and then what we expect. And then obviously for us, we're training at least one time per week. We have great access, obviously, with the coaching staff and the players. Jimmy and Austin as well being fantastic, where they're kind of an open book, trying to give us information. I think that's very, very important to understand what it's like as a player approaching a game. Now for Austin, obviously, as a coach as well. I think some of that insight is very important. And then from there, it's really just preparing your thoughts. Tommy, I know it usually starts about a week out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have a conference call on a Monday. So if we had a match today as planned against Toronto, then Monday we would have had a conference call with Lindsay, Kevin, our producer and director, David Ashbrock is on there. Folks from sponsorship are on there. The communications and PR team, Liz Summers is on there. So there's a lot of different folks who are on there to help us with any of the key talking points for the week or new sponsorship pieces or whatever it might be in order to get ready. And I mean, this is like I said at the beginning of this stream that my wife gives me a hard time for keeping everything, and that might be a slight exaggeration, and she just happened to wander in the room at the right time and rolls her eyes. But this was kept, and I just happened to be in my office Wednesday and was like, I wonder if I have that chart from the first game, and found it pretty quickly because apparently I keep everything. So, but my charts have really grown. I think Kevin can attest that too, because he sees them, in the booth compared from this one, and it's funny as I look on it. And Alvaro Anton Raffol, I had no notes on. Nobody knew anything about him except that he was from Madrid, and we thought he was 21 years old, and he was 6'1" and about 6'4" with his hair. Like right? Like I have nothing, not a single note, and he wasn't dressed, but for Alvaro, literally not a single note because there wasn't much there. And I remember, as you go through the USL. Guys like Jimmy, a homegrown product, and Austin, who is MLS rookie of the year, there's a lot of information to find on them. You can read about their collegiate years, you can read about their professional years, and you can learn about them. But there's a lot of guys that are pulled from strange places in the USL, and there's very little information on them. And I remember 2017 when the Open Cup run got going, and all of a sudden we played Columbus and then Chicago and Red Bulls, and I was in heaven because there was so much information available on those guys, and it's really information overload now. One of my mentors told me a long, long time ago, I think when I was 14, 15 years old, that if you use 10 to 15% of what you prepare for a match, you're doing a great job. If you use 100% of what you prepared, either you're talking too much or you didn't prepare enough, because you're emptying your whole book. So I try to use as much as I possibly can, and when it's right. And sometimes you may have a great note, on someone here. I got a lot of notes about Alex Martinez for this game, but he didn't play, so I'm probably not going to use much of that. And it looks like Austin Yearwood I knew nothing about, including his age. So it has developed, and I am certainly appreciative now in Major League Soccer of the unlimited information that is out there to prepare, but you got to make sure you're using it in the right way as well. And like Kevin said, we also appreciate the access we have with the club, because it is very, very helpful. I know you feel the same way, Lindsay, in the way that you try to get ready for these matches as well.
100%. And like you mentioned, just the access, having that with the coaching staff is really helpful. And I tell people all the time, I work in the NFL too, and no offense to the NFL locker room, when you talk to the FC Cincinnati from USL, from day one to Major League Soccer where we are now, all of those guys, they're just great humans. They're so easy to talk to, and it's just, you always enjoy. I remember going to first training at the USL level. They come over to you, ask you how you're doing, shake your hand, and it's so different than other pro sports. And there's nothing against the other ones, but I always felt that connection, and it's great access. So I appreciate it on my end too.
I think that goes back as well. Jimmy brought this up earlier, obviously, with the point about how important this team was with establishing kind of the culture and the values as well. And I definitely can attest to that. I think Austin and Jimmy both have been fantastic representatives for the club, and I think they've certainly set the standard. I think as it goes through, and it's cool even to see Austin, in his new role as well as a coach, working behind the scenes with the strength part as well, that he has the opportunity to also instill kind of those standards, right? Austin, I don't know if that's something that you approach as well, but trying to remind the current players of what that jersey represents, how really we're here today, and some of the steps and the chapters that have been written since then to get to this point.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's definitely part of it. I think Jimmy touched on it earlier too, of how great of a just locker room this first team was. So it was easy to set those standards, because it was just everyone liked. This is not many teams that you're on. It's not the full team going out to dinners or going out for a drink or anything in the off season, or just hanging out doing stuff on the road. Like this was the first locker room that I was a part of. That was, it's tough to get a dinner reservation for 30 people. So like that part's a negative, but it was real easy to install all those things with this first year team, because it was just a great group of guys. I think we all genuinely really loved hanging out with each other and doing stuff. And yeah, for sure, that still carries on today. I think when I was a player, my biggest thing was just leading by example. So I think that's still just what I try to do as a coach of, just trying to bring the energy and then being positive and keeping it lighthearted, but also, making sure the guys are working when they need to work. So it's just trying to keep that up on a daily basis.
Jimmy, we got a question here on Facebook from Steve. He wants to know which SC Cincinnati season jersey is your favorite.
What a question.
It is. We got the inaugural secondary kit here hanging out.
I honestly am I'm very partial to the original jersey. I think the ones that we're wearing right now are pretty special, and it's so funny because they're just so basic, and and originally the away jersey was just the orange switch to the top that we wore for 1 or 2 games. But something about this jersey I've always liked, and it will always be special to me.
That's fair. Austin, you've been here. You haven't worn them all, but you've been here. Which one's your favorite?
I kind of like the one Kevin's got on. I always liked that all black one. That was one of it. But again, with Jim, I mean that first home jersey, that was real nice. But when they did the all, well, sort of all black ones, but no, I always liked those ones too.
Okay, taking more questions on Facebook. Linz, you're up next. This one comes from Derek. Besides Jimmy or Austin, who has been your favorite player or coach to interview on the pitch?
Great question.
Oh, that's tough. Like I mentioned, everybody's awesome. It's always fun to talk to all of them. And
We're holding you to the fire, Lance. You got to have an answer here.
So hard. This is so hard. I'm going to go, I'm not going to say favorite player. He was awesome when he was here. But I think getting to talk to Mitch after the Chicago Fire game, I know we weren't on, we were doing radio broadcast, so it wasn't TV. But getting to talk to him after that was really cool. But everyone's awesome. I'm not going to sit here and say this one's better than the other one because I've enjoyed all of them throughout the years.
So favorite memory, but you say you didn't answer the question.
I know I did it. Maybe I'll come back to that.
All right, Jimmy and Austin. This one is from Jim. Talk a little bit about the fan response your first year and the kids waiting, and we'll see it here at the end of the game. I mean, I was getting this ready to send over to Star 64 this week, and you see it, and it's how it is, still today. It's a really, really special part of the club, but the kids waiting to get your autograph after the match. I'd imagine that first time you came out of the locker room and you probably were looking to see friends or family, and all these fans were waiting on the wall for autographs. That had to be a pretty special moment.
Yes, super cool. I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how we had no idea what to expect. And I think so much about what's so awesome about this club on so many different levels is how organic the whole thing was in terms of the Bailey and the supporters groups coming together. And then this tradition of everyone coming over and signing autographs at the wall after every single game. So to see it continued now at the MLS level, which is honestly really rare, and it doesn't really get done much in any other city in the country, is something that I think is so important for the club and the entire community. I mean, we want to be a big part of the community, and we want to show support to the fans that support us every game. And having everybody waiting at the wall at the end of this first game it's really special for all of us. I mean, we love being able to go talk to fans and sign autographs and give back to them and get to know them as well. So I think it was something really cool for all of us and something that really blew us away. I mean, we weren't expecting any of this when we came to sign on to play here, and the fan support is honestly like nothing else and something so special.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy how much bigger that wall has gotten every single year and how much longer down the field it's got. I remember the first couple of weeks, me and Jimmy signing our names under our own names for some kids, because some of the same kids that were coming back, which was awesome. But then, the more and more the people came, it's crazy how big and how long that line is, that wall. And I think that's a real neat tradition that we're keeping alive.
As we work our way through this game and we look at the guys who played in this game on April 9th, 2016 for Mitch, and obviously the legendary night that he had in the Open Cup, and Harrison Delbridge playing alongside you, Austin, at center back for 2 years and really had an incredible run. We talked about Tyler Pollock during the first half. And, I think even during that Open Cup run, remember there was a bunch of injuries during that Open Cup run, and Tyler had to step up and played some really important minutes that season. Kenny Walker obviously did just mega things. The big season from Ugo, Pat McMahon had some great memories. Corbin Bowen, a legend in orange and blue. The two of you with Wida. You look at the starters, and the starting 11 from this game was pretty action-packed with some guys who we didn't know at the time, but we're going to have some pretty amazing stories to talk about when it's all said and done.
Is that this one, Austin? I was waiting for this. No, honestly, you look at this roster, and for a USL roster, it's crazy to see the experience on this team, and you even look at the bench of this team. I mean, you got Antoine Hopena, you have Luke Spencer. I mean, you got big players who have had really,
Omar
really
Cummings
good
wasn't
careers.
even
Omar
healthy.
Cummings, oh my gosh! I mean,
Mhm.
he's won MLS Cup, one of the best ambassadors for the team in history, and an unbelievable player. I mean, this team actually had so much talent on it, and if you look at the rosters throughout USL this season, I can't imagine there's another team with the amount of experience we had, and obviously with John Harkes as a coach, a U.S. soccer legend. I mean, this team really was something special, and I think the fact that we did so well so quickly as an inaugural team is really impressive as well. But just what a fun group in terms of everything, in terms of on the field, off the field. I mean, this team, I think this year will be a special memory for everybody who was a part of it, and something everyone's always going to remember.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think like Jimmy said, there was plenty of talent on this squad, and but with a lot of guys that had they still had something to prove. I mean, we all came from different situations, but similar situations, whether being in the MLS and kind of being on the outskirts of it at that point, or being up and coming and trying to get back into that, being younger guys. So I think it was, we were all loved being around each other. It was a great locker room. It was good talent, but it was also just the hunger from everyone to prove themselves. That's why I think it was easy to have success as an inaugural club, where at this point in the season, we'd really only been together for about a month and a half. But to kind of come together, play decent soccer, and then get some wins early on in the season. I think that's true testament to the squad that Jeff and Harvey and Tino put together for that first year.
I think what you just said is so important too. I mean, what Austin said about us all coming from similar situations where a lot of us didn't have a lot of success in MLS and we're bouncing down to the USL level trying to get back, and a lot of guys coming right out of college who were hungry to move up. I think you had a group of guys who had kind of been beaten down, honestly, and everyone, like kind of Austin was saying when he was going to Louisville, you come in with this big ego, and the guy went into MLS, and I thought I was gonna be the next superstar. I thought it was gonna go super well and super easy, and then I barely play. So I think a lot of guys came from these similar situations, and everyone kind of put their ego aside, and everyone focused on the team and the group, and that's why I think everyone came together, and why this team was so successful.
We talk about how much younger we all look at that time. I mean, Austin, you look about the exactly same. But the rest of us look
Thanks, man.
much younger than. Hey, let's talk about Corbin Bone. We haven't talked about Corbin very much, right? A great member of FC Cincinnati lore over the years, and his hair looks normal. I think he's about 20 tattoos shy of where he is at. Obviously, he had not yet met his wife Annie, who is
too baby shy.
Too baby shy. A lot of things there, but a much different look and feel for Corbin. Well, that's someone who you knew quite well there at that point, Austin, right? Or both of you?
Yeah, for sure. I'd kind of been following him around his entire career. Followed him to Chicago. He got traded to Philly 2 weeks before me, so I followed him there. And then I heard he was choosing to come back to Cincinnati, and I was like, hell, I'll just follow you there too, buddy. So, no, I definitely I've been to his hip throughout the career, and it's been awesome getting to know him. I think it was in Philly where we first really started to get to know each other. I mean, in Chicago, you say you live 2 miles apart, but it takes you 35, 40 minutes to get there. So we didn't hang out. We were living in different parts of Chicago for those 2 years, but in Philly, we were just, right down the street. That's why, Jimmy and Corbs are some of my better friends and guys that I get to play with. But that time in Philly, we're all living. There was about 8 of us within a 3 or 4 block radius. So that was definitely a fun time off the field, getting to know some different guys and being able to hang out. That was definitely a fun time in our careers to be able to leave the field and enjoy downtown Philly in the summer. Become good friends, and then start our next process in Cincinnati. So it was nice to see a lot of familiar faces when we all chose to come to Cincinnati, come back for me.
No doubt.
No, for sure.
I
remember.
My wife handed me this photo, by the way, doing some scrapbooking.
Oh, look at that group
go.
there.
There you
Jimmy,
go.
actually, you've gotten younger.
One, I guess. With the young lad.
Just touching on Corbin too. I mean, what Austin was saying, we did have such a fun group in Philly that are all still really close today. And I remember when I was out of contract and kind of looking for teams, and the rumblings were starting with FC Cincinnati and how Harksey was putting together this powerhouse team. And I remember hearing Austin and Corbin were going there, and then it just kind of all happened. And then I went there, and then Antoine and Weeda, and this team just kind of took off. But in terms of talented players I've ever played with, I mean, Corbin Bone is one of the top. I mean, what a player. And I remember even him in Philly, I thought it was crazy that they weren't playing him. I mean, I thought he was so underrated and a guy who could play at the highest level, and he was not getting chances really in Philly. And then to come here and see what he's done in Cincinnati and just be one of the best players since day one was really special to watch for me, and to see someone like that who's such a great guy succeed at this level and work his way up to the MLS team was really cool, and a guy who I think is a massively underrated as well, a guy who makes everyone around him better, who never loses the ball, who's good offensively and defensively, and the type of player that I think us as Americans don't really develop super well. Somebody who's so calm and clever on the ball in good and tight spaces. So what a great guy and great player.
Absolutely. Austin, we have a infamous, I think is the word, moment. If Nikki's still hanging around, I don't know if she got tied up on baby duties, but the infamous moment.
Wait, what story are you about to say?
It's a good question. We were talking about embarrassing moments earlier with Lindsay, right? And you remember the match, and you actually told me this happened. I didn't even realize at the time. Look, when we're calling a match, so much is going on, and when Annie was pregnant,
Oh yeah,
with Brooks, and I mentioned on the air that Corbin was I meant to say Corbin was an expecting father and very much looking forward to fatherhood and all this, and with Annie. And but at the moment the ball came to your foot, and my brain expired, and I said Austin's an expecting father and really looking forward to being to fatherhood and being a parent and all the joys that come with it. And I didn't even realize at the time. Kevin said he later told me he looked at me a little bit cross-eyed at the moment. I didn't know, and it wasn't until a couple weeks later that you pulled me aside and showed me the clip on your phone, and you said you came into the dressing room afterwards and had a couple dozen messages congratulating you. Literally, it was like 2 years early, right?
Yeah, I thought you were going to bring that up earlier when you were talking about that. Yeah, I got more messages from that little slip up than any goal I've ever scored or anything. I came back in, family members were texting like, "How come you haven't told us? Like, what is going on?" So that was. Thanks for that night of just having a text about 50 people back saying no, fake news. Sorry.
Hey, fake news. It's not happening at this moment. Now, however, Father, this is for Jimmy and Austin. What do you remember the most about playing under Harps?
Oh. There's way too many stories.
We got 20 more minutes.
Yeah, I know. No, I just think, from the get-go, he was just because of where he's played and the kind of guy he was just so relatable. And it was easy from day one of preseason to just show up and play and be confident. I think he instilled confidence, in all of us right from the get-go. He was relatable. We could approach him, and I think he wanted to involve everyone. And I think people say players coach a bunch. And I think he really hit that on a lot of points. From what guys want to do in training and what we did on a weekly basis. I think he made, for a lot of us, that was first time training had kind of become fun again and not really looked at it as a job, from playing small sided game tournaments and always make it competitive. And I think that's what helped, being able to show it on the field is we really love to play, Monday to Sunday, every day of the week that we could be in for training and then for the games. I think that showed.
Absolutely. I completely agree with Austin. I think, as I was saying, a lot of us.
Everybody lose Jimmy's microphone?
Yeah.
Jimmy, back? There we go. You got a microphone, Jim? You good? Oh, we lost Jimmy's microphone. All this time. Let's see. Are you there, Jimmy? Mike, I think you clicked off your microphone. You
Can
back?
hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I just would completely agree with Austin. I mean, I think Harksey made every single day fun, and he put the joy back into soccer for all of us. And every single day was competitive, as Austin was saying. We did a lot of playing. He gave the players a ton of freedom, and we were able to kind of talk to him about what we were thinking and make adjustments on the fly. I think as a coach, he really empowered the players, and he trusted us to make decisions on the field and gave us confidence in ourselves and gave us a chip on our shoulder in every single game. So what a special guy and special coach who did so much for all of us in this organization. And I think he also did a really good job at giving individual instructions opposed to just overall team tactics. I mean, him being such a special player himself, it was really interesting to hear some of the advice that he would have in a certain situation, whether it was going at a defender or looking for a certain pass. He really had a lot of insight for all of us.
We're taking questions. We got about 15 more minutes here on our second screen chat room on Facebook. Appreciate everybody who has joined us today. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We'll do it again tomorrow. Alex Steck, myself, Yohan Dame, and Fatai Alashe. We'll do this from 12 to noon tomorrow. We'll jump on about 10 minutes before, about 11:50, get the conversation started. And then at noon, while the Montreal match from last season re-airs on Star 64. We're trying to give you some sports, folks. I know it's a very challenging time right now with sports shut down, and appreciate our good partners over at Star 64 providing some airtime today and then setting this up, and Jimmy and Austin joining us, and Kevin and Lindsay. We got about 15 more minutes for questions, so send them in now. Another one from Jim comes in, and this is a really good one because remember, this match, 38 degrees, 14,000 people there, and everyone said nobody else is going to come, right? Like the next match you'll never get more than 14,000 at a game, and this is one of the worst attended games in Nippert Stadium history. The next week there was 17,000 in Louisville City arrived, right? They came back in July for that really, really hot match. And Jim wants to know if you guys can talk about the genesis of the rivalry with Louisville City and how that rivalry felt in the dressing room as players.
I mean, that's a tough one because it just kind of really came out of nowhere. I think it was more a rivalry from the standpoint of like they were obviously close to us geographically, but they were also going to be one of the better teams. They were going to be a team that we were going to be competing against. It was tough to have it as a rivalry because I know the front office really wanted us to hate Louisville City, but Louisville City had some of my really good friends on that team at the time. A guy like Paulo Del Piccolo was their captain. I had to do the coin tosses, and me and him spent 4 years at Louisville with each other, so it was tough not having smirks across the coin toss. I'm trying to think of, I'm blanking on a couple other guys that were there, but it was, we always knew right from the start, just because of how they had done that previous season, that they were going to be our toughest opponent, on any given week.
Yeah, no, I mean it's interesting kind of how it all evolved. I remember the first time we played them. I think you scored, Austin. I think we go up 1-0, and then they came back, and I think they beat us. They ended up beating 3-2. I think
3-1, 3-2.
Pat McMahon scored in the last minute, I think, but that's kind of what really started it off. I remember our buddy in Philly, Chandler Hoffman, scoring and then going and kind of celebrating in front of the Cincy fans, and that kind of might have ignited everything. But yeah, ever since then we've had some crazy heated games, and I remember that one you're talking about in the sun in particular, when it was like, I don't know, 120 degrees and everybody's feet were melting on the field. But
Did
yeah,
any boots melt? Can you confirm if any boots melt? There was a report that boots melted that day.
I don't know if they melted, but I do remember being on the field, and the guy who was defending me, it must have been a foul or something, and he just said to me, he's like, man, like I can't stand this. He's like, my feet are burning. I'm like, dude, me too. Like we were both, everybody was struggling. But luckily, I think we were wearing white, so we might have gotten a little bit of an advantage.
A little lucky there. I mean, I remember 5 minutes into the game having to stand on my tippy toes for the rest of the first half because my heels were burning. I walked off at halftime. I looked right at McNally and said, I swear to God, if we play another midday game on this Nipper turf in summer, I'll quit. all retired.
Oh, Austin. You know why? It wasn't Dan's fault.
No, I know.
It was TV. They offered us time on CBS.
Yeah.
We took the 4:00 start because we had the time on CBS, and that's why we did that one. And
It was
it
just
ended up
on the door at the time.
backfiring with the Heat.
Quick question for Jimmy and Austin too. How difficult was, you talk about the energy at Nippert Stadium, but certainly for a lot of these away teams, especially USL, that's probably the biggest crowd that they played in front of. Could you feel that energy from them? Like, could you tell that they were
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think that's why when you kind of look at some of these games that we maybe should have kind of taken care of, like where we're really playing well and dominating. I think exactly what you're saying is true. All these teams were so hyped up for this game. I mean, this is what they were waiting for all year. And obviously there was a lot of exposure on these games, and they knew that Cincinnati was going to MLS. So it honestly was kind of like a tryout for a lot of these guys, and they're coming out to give the best they possibly can. And I think it did create a lot of challenges for us playing against some of these teams at home because they were giving us their absolute best.
Yeah, for sure. We've said that a bunch of times. I mean, every team and every guy that we knew on other teams, when we talked to them, they're so pumped to come to Cincinnati. That's an easy place to play an away game. That's the kind of fans and the kind of atmosphere that you want to play a game in front of. So it was always, home field advantage. Like it was kind of tough. I think a lot of the games that year, I mean, it was always, I think the scoreline was probably like us winning 2-1 in almost every single game at home. Like it was always
a 1-goal game.
Yeah, there was never
one way or the other. Is that it? All right, we're done. No.
Well, actually,
we've run out of things to talk.
Hey, no, I got something. My dad just texted me, Jimmy. Since they're not asking the question, Greg Barry wants to know what's tougher for you right now: not being able to play soccer or Jack's Casino being closed.
Wow.
It's been a quiet year for me at Jack's Casino so far. So I'm really sharpening up on my poker game and learning more about the blackjack strategy. I'm using this as a time to kind of improve before I go back to Jack's and take over.
No, we'll be ready to go. It'll be Hard Rock now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Off season, we're gonna take that blackjack table.
There you go, Jimmy. You're coming out for Derek Luke here in Harksey was taking full advantage of the 5 subs in this match to milk the clock.
Absolutely. Left back in at left wing, got to have bad boy Derek Luke coming in to close the game out. That was
bad boy.
His nickname.
I'll duck it.
That's another Brian Martin nickname, huh? Tino had some of the best nicknames for people.
That's some really good nicknames. Yeah.
While we have you both here, and obviously, Matt Schisler has become an important part of the team. And you talk about somebody who looks different in 2016. I'm respect from him here.
Jack of all trades. He must be the
right.
one employee who's had the most jobs.
Talk about not having a lot of staff. I mean, that's the true Jack of all trades the first year, right?
What was he? He was equipment manager, film editor, scouting department. I don't know. He did it all. He drove the practice.
He was Aaron Powell's assistant trainer, probably.
Pretty much. Yeah. No, he was doing everything for us that year, and you could tell how tired he was all the time. I remember waking up on the road and Matt just going, "I'm sorry, do I look tired?" And he was so dead that whole year. But God love the Chiz. God love that guy. No, he did everything that first year, and now he's getting to be a little bit more specialized. But no, that team wouldn't have functioned without Schisler that year, literally, because he did pretty much every job besides playing and coaching.
For sure. One of my favorite moments about Schisler is when him and Aaron Powell played one-on-one at Pittsburgh. Stuff made Schisler and Aaron Powell play a one-on-one soccer game, and it was not pretty on the eyes. I'll leave it at that. I don't know what the final score was or how
it was. It was 3. I think it was 3 Aaron Powell, because Schisler had the redemption the next year in Bethlehem, and because Aaron chopped him down with a scissor tackle for the third goal as the Schisler tried to do a cute little Cruyff turn, and AP tore him down.
Oh wow! Yeah, I joke with him, and I love Matt Chisler, but I think that the 2016 season is the reason he has any gray hairs today. That he was 23 years old when that season went on, and with all the responsibility and stress that is the reason for any of his gray hairs. But yeah, he was the unsung hero you probably didn't see on TV. And then 2 years ago was it last year he chased the squirrel off the field? He did myself.
Squirrel.
Done everything. Was that last year, Lance?
It had to be maybe last year or the year before.
That was last year, I think.
Last year.
It all blurs together at some point. Austin, I mean, Jimmy talked about it very early. We had a couple questions come in on Facebook, and as we wrap things up here, we're waiting for our full-time whistle on the first home win for FC Cincinnati and Nippert. But a frustrating period. We wish that we were all there right now, literally getting ready for a match in an hour. That's not possible. But what are you doing, and how challenging is it for you right now to keep an entire roster of guys in shape or try to, without being able to see them and provide a proper weight room or a proper pitch in order to do so?
Yeah, it's tough. We're still, I mean, it's going to keep getting analyzed every week, and hopefully, hopefully it gets better, as we go throughout March and in April, and we can, hopefully that day in May ends up being the return to play. So we'll hopefully back before, but it's really just, between Gary, myself, the whole medical staff, I mean, everyone's been involved of giving some input and just trying to communicate with the guys. And then it's just, it's just on the guys to also make do with what we have. I mean, the MLS doesn't want them going to public gyms, nor do we. We can't bring them to the facility. So guys just have to get creative. And, I give a lot of credit to certain guys, and especially Jimbo here of, day one. As soon as that kind of happened, he was out in Target buying himself a Swiss ball and a kettlebell, couple of 4-pound dumbbells to get some presses in. And with guys like that are from the get-go, they're trying to keep themselves, prepared as much as they can. So it's just trying to communicate with them and, staying in touch with every single guy in hopes that, guys come back fit, because it's going to be a short time to get them ready again. So no, it's definitely tough, but it's given us some time to prepare some stuff for the rest of the season.
I know it's certainly a challenge on your end. Kevin and I have been FaceTiming each other for our workouts. Make sure we stay broadcast fit, so we're ready.
Broadcast fit.
Broadcast fit whenever the time comes. Well, we just saw the full-time whistle in the first ever match at Nippert Stadium. Once again, ends in a win by a score 2-1. Austin Berry's game winner on the assist from Jimmy McLaughlin. What a special day it was, and a day that kind of resembles the one as I look outside, 30-some degrees and gray, much like it was back on that April day of 2016. Certainly a great memory for all of us. Austin and Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being incredible parts of that 2016 team and everything you've done for FC Cincinnati since. And I know the schedule's kind of packed right now, so carving out some time to join us here on the FaceTime or on the chat, the group chat.
No, thanks guys for having us. This was fun. It's obviously keeping us busy, and thanks for everything you guys do. I think this is a opportunity to give the fans some insights and some backstories, and hopefully we don't have to do this too many weekends. But no, I think this is, speak for myself, this has been fun, and then hopefully everyone tuning in has had a good time with it as well.
Yeah, I think so. We've got a lot of good questions. Let me make sure before I cut everybody free. Oh, we're back.
We're back.
And away.
Say hi to Uncle Jimmy.
Oh my goodness.
Uncle Jimmy.
Hi, Lily.
Say hi, Lily.
The star of the show.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Very sweet.
You'll get to see her in 2021, Jim.
Perfect.
Can't wait.
Perfect, guys. Well, again, appreciate everybody joining us. This has been a lot of fun. Let's do it again tomorrow with all the fans on Facebook. Alex Steck will join me, as well as Johan Dame and Fatai Lashe, as we will watch an encore presentation of FC Cincinnati against the Montreal Impact at noon on Star 64. And here on Facebook, we will have another chat room. We'll see if we can get some other special guests lined up as well. So that's who we have tomorrow for Austin Berry, Jimmy McLaughlin, Lizzie Patterson, and my broadcast partner, Kevin McCloskey. Thank you so much for tuning in. So long, guys.
Hey, guys.
See you guys.